Hey guys, welcome back to the Interceptor. We are here with another video, and this is going to be the Hood Showcase. Mostly an Alliance War Showcase. Actually, every single fight except for this very first fight is an off-season Alliance War fight. And I had recorded a lot from this off-season, so I just figured I'd put them in one video together rather than upload a bunch of off-season war videos. I know there's some people that do that, but I just prefer doing it this way. Almost every fight in this quest is going to be with rank 4 Hood, but there's, I think, like 4 or 5 videos. I think there's 1, 2, 3. There's 5 videos in this that are with a rank 3 Hood, just because I had them recorded from a season ago. This is actually a pretty old video. This is the oldest video I have. This is rank 3 Hood against Heimdall from EoP, and this was from before Epoch came out, because Heimdall is actually on a path that Hood like physically cannot reach. But I just wanted to record this. Figured I might as well just include this in the video. But yeah, everything else is going to be Alliance War. I think we have about 30 fights, a little under 30 fights. I did a lot more with Hood than that this season, but these are just the ones that I decided to record. There's a bunch of dupes, a bunch of fights where I got hit and the fight just looked a lot messier than it should have been. So yeah, this fight's pretty straightforward. You're just going to get all your damage ready and then kill in one big burst. In order to get all the damage, you need to throw a special attack during the when the phase is on cooldown, whatever that's called. So here we're going to disable it, and then this L2, there, that L2 is going to just about take the fight down. And then, yeah, not the fastest fight in the world, but I don't know. I thought I should include it. And then here I think we're just going to be a heavy hit, and then now we just need to land the special, and the fight is going to be over. So there we go. Yeah, okay. A little bit longer than I thought it was, honestly, but it's not a big deal. But let's get into Alliance War. So I have actually organized all of the fights in this video by node number, and I am going to put that information in the description as well. So the mini bosses are going to be towards the end of the video, although more than half of the fights here are mini bosses. So this is path 5, first node, so node 5, Gladiator on the ebb and flow knockdown. The only thing with Gladiator that makes him a little bit trickier is that he does start out with that vigilance, so you need to be not overly reliant on your miss at the start of the fight, but after that's gone, he is very, very easy to Hood, and also the constant buffs that he gets are going to feed your bullets, so very, very Hood friendly defender to kill. So next up we have node 8 Maw. So this is the rage and right back at him node. So when we knock him down, he is going to get that little timer, and then if he hits into my block during that timer, he is going to gain power. And also, Hood versus Maw, generally not the best matchup in the world, just because when you knock down Maw and you put his those charges, I forget what they're called, channeling? No, something like that. When you put his charges on cooldown, he reduces your power gain. So when you power steal, you get a certain amount of that back, and that actually gets reduced when you knock down Maw with heavy. So there, I got way less power than I should have, but that's just kind of how Maw works. So yes, you can absolutely play around it, and there we actually did make the falter fail because we had the fate seal up, so it was a 65% chance to make it fail. But the fight is almost over. Looks like we need to get to one more special 2 right here. But in general, I send Hood, either if it's myself or someone else, to this node very often, because Hood just takes care of the Furies. So even if you are triggering the Furies, you're just going to nullify them every time. So unless there's a nullify immune champion here, which is not very common, Hood is always going to be a very good counter to it. So this is on the same node. This is node 8, and we are taking Medusa. It's going to be a pretty straightforward fight because we're also going to be able to take care of her Furies. And this matchup is admittedly a little bit easier with the current tactic because you never have to worry about her auto block after pushing her to a special for the first time, even if you don't get your staggers up in time. And then here I think we're just going to heavy, and that does finish off the fight in just barely over 30 seconds, 31 seconds. So we have one more fight left on this Rage Rise to Power node, and remember that all these fights are just from this past off-season. So there was, what, 6 wars? Yeah, six wars to get all this gameplay, and we did manage to get quite a lot because Hood can just take a lot. He's probably the most versatile tactic attacker right now in Alliance War, just because Dazzler's getting banned. I think it would be a contest between him and Dazzler, but yeah, Hood is an absolute menace. We're going to start here by removing the Sync Shield, trying to get to our L2. Here he's just being really annoying and blocking, and then there he just throws a random special. But the unblockable is going to help a lot because obviously it's going to give me a good amount of extra damage. There we go for the heavy attack just so we can dash back and prep the miss. However, we do have to also remove the Sync Shield first, but there I was able to throw my L2 because I don't know why I'm not hitting into... Okay, that was really stupid. That was really dumb of me, but it's fine. Yeah, now that we have the unblockable, we don't have to worry about the auto block charges. So I think we're actually going to kill right here. No, not quite. Okay. And because the resist happened, the auto block did not trigger. So there, and then here. There we go. Okay. Fight is over. That fight can be done a lot better, but that wasn't bad for sure. Also, I should note, every single fight in this video is unboosted. Not a single one of it is boosted, so these fights would be significantly better if I had boosts on. This is going to be Storm X on heavy hitters, so Path 5, Section 1, the second node. Not really the best placement in the world, but, you know, they placed it, so I'll take it with Hood, right? Also, one thing I should note about Hood versus Ebb and Flow is that the order of operations is that when the L2 connects with the defender, you inflict the Fate Seal. So if the protection is up, the Fate Seal will still be there when the defender gets knocked down. So there is actually a 65% chance that you turn off the Ebb and Flow for the rest of the fight. Obviously, you can reactivate it if you knock them down again, assuming that 65% fails, so the 35% prevails. But it's a really good matchup. You shut it down a lot of the time, and it just makes it a little bit easier to manage your detonations with protection being down if it's completely shut off. But yeah, that's pretty good. Here we have Node 16, Medusa. I believe this was from the same war that I took the Peni. This is Path 8, Section 1, and this is the second fight. So this is the stun immune one where the defender gains a energize every single time that they gain a buff. Also, Medusa's going to have her auto block, but if you don't know the way that Hood works, Hood is actually stun immune while his invisibility is up. So even if Medusa gets her 3 Furies and she is able to auto block you, you can just ignore it for the most part. And yeah, you can just do that. You can just intentionally trigger the auto block to remove her Furies, and you're stun immune, so it won't actually do anything. So that is it for that fight. That was a very easy one. So now we are over to Path 6, Section 2. And this is going to be the Fisticuffs node, and we have a Chee'Ilth here. Chee'Ilth is a bit of an annoying defender in the sense that if you block medium attacks, you are going to get bled, and I don't run the Purgatory synergy to make Hood bleed immune very often, so you do have to deal with that. But we're actually going to do a really good job of dealing with it in this fight, and we are going to be able to use the tactic unblockable to get charges and not have the parry. But obviously Hood has a pretty significant loss in damage when he does not have his invisibility up, because he he ignores 75% of all armor on the defender, in addition to obviously being able to control the power to get more special attacks, and if you have the Strife synergy active, a flat plus 50% increase in your attack rating, which is incredible. So yeah, that fight goes down in 50 seconds, even without the invisibility. Next up, we have node 26 Weapon X. So this is going to be over on path 8. This, again, is one of the fights where Hood is rank 3. And Hood versus Weapon X is normally a really bad matchup because every single time that you activate Miss, he is going to go unstoppable. So you just have to watch out for that and land your intercepts. I thought I was going to die right there because I get pinned in the corner while he has his rage stacks, whatever they're called. And then there we trigger a miss on the deck, so he goes unstoppable. And we almost died in this fight, but it's fine. There we're getting lucky, getting saved by our miss. And then here I think we are going to... Oh, not quite kill, so it looks like we need to get to one more special attack. And then here we are going to be able to kill him with that special. So yeah, it looks bad that I end the fight with 9%, but to be fair, I went into the fight with 40%, so it's like finishing with 70%. So next up here we have node 28 Sersi. This is actually from the war yesterday. I have done this fight as well once in season. I did it last season. There I was waiting for the glancing to fall off so that my special 2 Fate Seal did not get failed. But this is on path 1 section 2, the buffet node, and Hood is actually a really good counter to buffet because you can just intentionally trigger decks right before you get to your invisibility, and then you're not going to have anything messed with. Also, Sersi is just a really easy fight with Hood because as soon as you get to your first L2, and you basically prevent glancing for the rest of the fight, and also obviously you will prevent the regeneration and the armor up from the node, so he'll never go unblockable. So next up here we are back over to path 6 section 2, and this is the old node 49. So this is node 33. This one used to be a mini boss on the boss island, but it got switched to a path fight. Pretty straightforward with Hood. You're not going to be able to parry because unfortunately even with White Magneto he does not get the passive stun because he is not a hero and he is also not metal. But you can just play it stun immune. He does not have any debuffs in his main cycle. He does have a shock debuff from his special 1 and he has a bleed debuff from his special 3, but for the most times you're going to be just dealing with his special 2. So he is a very good counter to this node, and I do take this path pretty often. So now we are on to our our second last path fight. This is going to be node 35 Surfer, and this fight was actually, this also used to be a mini boss. This used to be node 42 until they changed it to be a path fight, because they just did that a couple times for some reason when they switched the map over. Surfer, he's a really easy champion to outrange his medium and counter, so if you need a good opening there, you can always do that. Got the protection down. We're just going to cycle some L2s until we're ready to throw a heavy. I think right here we're going to throw a heavy, and then we're probably going to throw our L2 right here to remove protection. And then another heavy does not quite kill. I knew it wouldn't kill, but I needed to bait a special out anyways. There we go for an extra heavy, I guess, just to get a couple bullets back, and then our L2 is going to finish off the fight. So that one was also very clean, very easy. This is actually our final path fight before we get to all the minis in this video. So this is the exact same node. This is just Gladiator on that node. Now there I do a light starter, not something I would do in season, but it's somewhat consistent if you practice it a good amount. And once again, Gladiator does have the anti-miss at the beginning of the fight, so you just need to pay attention to that. There we do take a few hits. Don't want to let him throw his special 1 just because he will go unstoppable, and if you don't have your Fate Seal up, you won't be able to prevent it. But here we're going to nullify all those buffs, get a bunch of bullets back. We just need to cycle a few L2s from this point, and then you are going to be fine. And this fight, or this node actually, does have the damage reflection node while the defender is stunned. However, Hood has several very consistent ways of getting his heavy attack off not during the stun. Either it's by using your mist, making them whiff into your mist to get a heavy, whether it's countering specials with heavy, or whether it's using a striker into a heavy. Those are all things that I employ very often with Hood. So now we go on to the mini bosses, and we are going to have node 38 up first. So this is the aggression, prowess, and protection right back at it node. And this is going to be a rank 4 Thanos. This is a pretty straightforward fight. I would assign myself to this in the season because, I mean, there's other counters. I wouldn't say there's better counters. I've seen people use Beta Ray Bill here, and he does make a lot of sense because of the grit. But for me personally, if I had to choose my counter, it would definitely be Hood. And the main thing is you do just have to watch out for the charges, so you can't let him get to 0 charges when he has two unstoppables, and right there I just wasn't paying attention. Also be careful not to hit into his block. You can heavy counter heavy if you do it in between his 2 hits before the second hit lands. It's a little bit sketchy, so I wouldn't recommend doing it all the time, but it does work pretty well. Unfortunately, the way that Thanos' protection works is that even if you're dealing damage all at once, like if I built up enough hexes and then detonated them, that could kill him from like 60% health, all my charges will be removed and he will stay at 50% because they will just always stop him at that percentage. So that does counter Hood a little bit, because normally what you want to do with Hood is you want to build up hexes until the opponent's around 55-60% and then just fully kill them from there. And you can't do that versus Thanos, but if you do just like 4 smaller detonations, or let's say you build up hexes and rely on your basics and your specials to do damage until you hit the 75%, then you can just fully bypass the second phase of the fight and get straight to that 50% immediately after the first protection expires, and then you can just repeat that to get the fight down. But this here is going to be 38 Sassy. This is probably still, to this day, the most popular placement for Sassy. I'll be honest, I don't really understand it after Decay's gone, because I don't see this ever getting kills. It's just a pretty easy fight with a lot of champions. There's a lot of champs I could very, very safely send to this fight. But one thing that I did do wrong in this fight is the way that I like to play against Sasquatch is I like to just keep ramping hexes until he triggers his wrath, and then just kill him as soon as his wrath activates. And I did a bad job of doing that, because a lot of the times when I detonated in this fight, a good amount of my damage is getting resisted, whether it be from the protection or from his wrath charges, which serve as a natural protection. But it doesn't really matter, and here we are going to finish the fight off. So still pretty safe, ended with a good amount of health, and considering I didn't go in very healthy. Next up here, we're going over to node 39, and we have, is this 39 Attuma? I think this is 39 Attuma. So this is actually one of the new nodes. This is the Rich Get Richer Footloose node that also has the steady, I forget what it's called, the stun immunity after the defender throws a special. So we're just going to be abusing our dex buff as well as our, as well as our invisibility to get power gain at the start of the fight. This is a strat that you can do against anyone that doesn't start with a bunch of buffs. So it is something that you can do in place of using an SP1 boost for this fight. That was really weird. I don't know how he reacted in time to get out of the way of my heavy, because I remember in the moment feeling like the heavy wasn't late, but clearly it was, because he countered it. We also have Attuma on this node, and in this one we are just going to go for the straight nuke. We are not going to worry too much about gaining power at the start of the fight. And right there, I thought I activated invisibility, but I must have stopped like right before the timer ended. And then, yeah, we get a bunch of bullets back. I was just doing that at the start. Hood is actually a very good counter to Attuma. Attuma's always placed on Alliance War defense, and you can take him pretty much anywhere other than Hazard Shift. I mean, technically you can take him on Hazard Shift, but you're just going to be increasing the ability accuracy of... you're just going to be increasing the ability accuracy of Hazard Shift with Fate Seal instead of reducing it, because Attuma reverses that stuff. So not a good idea, but I did do it last season because I forgot about that ability. So you can still survive doing it. It's just not a good idea. So now we are going to go over to node 40, and we have Terrax. This is Mixmaster and also the empathetic... I forget what it's called. Empathetic something, where if you parry like 4 times or whatever it is, then you are going to get a... Damn, what's it called? You get this debuff or passive on yourself that deals damage on you whenever you have buffs active. I'm completely blanking on what the node is called right now, or what the effect is called, but yeah. Terrax on this node, pretty straightforward, really easy fight. I understand why he's here, but Hood just doesn't really care. Hood takes Terrax very well. Now we have the other fights against this node. It is going to be node 40 Vox, and this one's pretty straightforward. Hood versus Vox is a very good matchup because Vox defensively has a huge weakness against Nullify, and he actually takes big bursts of damage from his own kit whenever he is nullified. So this is just going to be a really, really fast nuke. I think we're going to go for a... No, we're not going to go for heavy quite yet. We're going to bait a special. Probably going to counter it. And then... There we do that. That was really dumb. I think we're going to just heavy now. Yeah, because the stun immunity is on cooldown. We do have 2 of the charges, but again, I think you need 4 to activate... I don't remember what the effect is called. But yeah, this fight is going to go down right after this heavy attack. Could have been a lot faster had I just not gone for that initial detonation and just kept building hexes, but it's okay. So now we are over to... What is this? 41. Okay, we are on to node 41, and this is going to be Sersi. This is the root node, and also it has power focus 2. Hood versus Sersi, very, very good matchup, because unless you bait a heavy intentionally at the start of the fight to abuse Mystic Dispersion to just get to your L2 faster, Sersi won't ever activate her glancing against Hood, because the only hits that Hood does that would trigger the glancing would be his crits, and the crits apply staggers, which actually remove the glancing before it activates, or like as it activates, because it triggers at the exact same time, and the order of operations prioritizes the stagger. So very good matchup. Here we have Shocker. Shocker's probably the most common placement on this node, and we probably see it not half the wars, but maybe like a third of the wars he's here. Hood counters this fight very, very well. We have been sending Vox in the past, but if we have Hood available, I do think he is the better counter. Just because easy access to intercepts, you get unblockable all the time by countering specials. There we go for heavy, it almost kills him. And because of power focus 2, we are able to just keep hitting him when he's at the special 2 if he doesn't throw it, because he's not going to get up to a special 3 before he dies, that's for sure. And yeah, that fight went down in 30 seconds. This fight, oh my god, do not do this. This is a very scary fight, but I wanted to try it. This is node 42 Knull with Hood. This is the unblockable power snack node, so because I have debuffs on myself, he's going to be permanently unblockable. And there's also power snacks, so we're not going to be able to activate miss all the time unless it's on cooldown. Yeah, this is just a terrifying matchup. I would never do this in season unless I had a PS1 boost. Definitely not a good idea. But yeah, as long as Knull does not throw a special, as long as Knull does not throw a special 1, this fight is completely safe because obviously his SP2 is very easy to full dex and counter. And also, the way that the tactic works is it removes all unblockable, not just unblockable from the tactic, from the defense tactic. So there we go for a heavy attack, and he just doesn't go for it. So you can remove the unblockable on that node. But this here is going to be node 45 arcade, and this is the hazard shift node on the right side, the one with the shrug off as well, conflictor. Arcade, very easy defender if you're using the right champion and you play against him the same way, or sorry, the right way, because if he's not throwing specials and you're not triggering poison immunity, then he's not going to be getting his charges, and even when he does get his charges, you are going to be able to heavy counter heavy very, very easily with a champion like Hood. And because Hood counters hazard shift, he is basically the perfect counter for arcade here. Sometimes we will send Vox to him on hazard shift because there are certain nodes where that works very well, but Hood will always also be a very reasonable counter. So 45 arcade goes down very well. We only have one fight against node 46, the enhanced power gain node, because for some reason they decided to place Northstar here. Like, I get it, if he starts throwing special 2s, it can get annoying, but he's never going to get to throw a special 2 in this fight before he dies. We are going to be employing a trick that I like to use against Northstar very often, which is going to be dexing his first medium and then countering with a light, as opposed to parrying, and that is just going to prevent the root node, or the, not root, exonerable from triggering. But yeah, just a very safe way to play against it. We are stuck in the corner here, but we are controlling his power so well that we're just going to keep cycling L2s, and then he is down to 40% here, so we are going to dex the medium, intercept with a striker heavy, and the fight just goes down like that. Very, very easy 40-second fight. Not a placement you're really going to see during the season, but it's good. It's an easy fight. So this is also from the war that ended just yesterday. This is going to be node 47, Adam Warlock, and among the cosmic defenders, he's one of the better ones to place on this node. He's, like, other than Serpent, probably the single best if you want to avoid them getting hooded, because obviously when Adam Warlock has his sovereignty, he does go Fate Seal immune, so you're not going to be able to control the node that well. You will have to play around it instead of just shutting it off. But Hood is still going to be a very good counter, because Hood in general is just a very good counter to Adam Warlock. We are going to mess up in this fight, though. We are going to make a mistake, and the mistake that we're going to make is that normally what you want to do against Adam Warlock is you want to time your detonation so that you bypass his pod. So you usually want to get him down to like 40%, but unfortunately there, because of the fall through on us, our hexes expired, doing less damage, and then this L2 unfortunately does push him into the pod, so we are just going to have to wait it out, hit him with a heavy, and then he does drop. But if I were doing that in the season, I would be more careful to line it up a little bit better. So next up, we have another node 47 fight. This is going to be Thanos on this node. Pretty easy fight. Thanos doesn't do anything specifically on this node. He's just kind of here as a tanky defender. And as you have seen multiple times already in this video for me taking Thanos on different nodes, Hood versus Thanos is a very good matchup if you know what you're doing. So we have not yet gotten to L2 for the first time, but as soon as we do, we are going to be taking care of the node a lot better. In fact, we're going to be shutting down essentially every single node. There we don't dash in during the SP1 because I noticed that the unstoppable timer was coming back, and it would have triggered the unstoppable while I was close to him, so we didn't do that. But as you can see, we did bypass, like fully bypassed his second phase right there. There we hit into the unstoppable because I wasn't paying attention. But now we're paying a little more attention. You do have to pay attention to the panic debuff being on you as well, because that is going to make your miss fail. But the panic debuff only triggers if you activate unstoppable. So if you play against Thanos the way you're supposed to the panic should never activate on you. But again, I made a mistake. So we are going to go for, looks like another L2 right here. Just going to get our invisibility up, medium into L2, and now we just need to land a heavy, and the fight is going to be over. So we do have one final fight here, and this is going to be a Adam Warlock boss. This, once again, is one of the fights where Hood was at rank 3. This was actually not this offseason. This was last offseason, which is why he's rank 3. Because I took him to rank 4 like 3 or 4 wars into the season, something like that. This is an Adam Warlock boss. Pretty easy fight, honestly. This was also before the Energize got added to the boss node, so this fight, I mean, it's tough to say if this fight would be, I would say it would probably be easier now, just because you're able to power control more if he has more power. But yeah, this was in a war in the off-season against 4 Loki. And trying to bait Adam Warlock's L2 just because I knew I wasn't going to get to my L2 there before the stuff expired. We did hit into the pod once there just to reset the duration on our hexes, but now we're back to cycling some L2s, and then I think we're just going to keep cycling L2s until he is around 50%, and then we are going to detonate. So a little bit of a longer fight here, but a very reasonable counter, and if I saw an Adam Warlock in season, I would 100% send Hood. Oh, wow, yeah, I actually played that wrong. I actually detonated too early, but it's fine, because clearly we're still very safe. Just waiting for him to throw the special one. He doesn't really want to. But that is actually going to be it for the video. Just going to start the outro now before the fight ends. Just wanted to do a little mini showcase, but I do have more Hood content coming soon. So look out for that. And of course, I will be back with more Hood gameplay later. So have a great day, everyone, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.